Have you ever been told that you are too quiet? That silence makes you weak? What if I told you silence could be your greatest strength? This is the story of Rohan, a quiet boy who proved to everyone that you don't need to shout to be strong. You don't need noise to make an impact. Sometimes silence speaks louder than words. In a small town by the king's palace, there lived a boy named Rohan. Rohan was not like other children. He didn't laugh loudly. He didn't fight to show his power. He didn't speak unless it was truly needed. While others played in the streets, shouting and running, Rohan often sat near the river. He watched the ripples on the water. He listened to the birds. He noticed the way the wind touched the trees. Because of this, many people thought Rohan was strange. Some laughed at him. He never talks. He must be weak. Even some teachers believed he was slow. But Rohan never argued. He never shouted back. He just smiled softly and walked away. Because deep in his heart, he knew something powerful. Silence was not weakness. Silence was strength. One morning, the town square was filled with drums and trumpets. The king himself arrived, sitting tall on his horse. Beside him, a soldier carried a shining chest. The people whispered in excitement. The king raised his hand and spoke loudly. "My people, listen. Our kingdom needs a boy who is not only strong, but also wise. Not only loud, but also patient. So I will hold a competition. The winner will serve in my palace, learning under my royal advisor, and he will also receive this chest, filled with gold coins." The crowd gasped. The chest was opened, and the gold coins sparkled in the sunlight. Children's eyes widened. Families dreamed of how much food, clothes, and land they could buy with that treasure. Every boy in town wanted to join. They stood proudly, ready to prove themselves. And then came Rohan, quiet, calm, standing at the back. People laughed. He doesn't even speak. How will he win gold? But Rohan said nothing. He simply stood tall, waiting. The king announced that there would be 3 tests. Only the boy who passed all 3 with wisdom and patience would win the gold coins and the honor of serving in the palace. The first test was to cross the wide river outside the town. There was no boat. The boys had to find their own way across the flowing water. The signal was given. Many boys jumped in at once, splashing loudly. Some tried to run across quickly, but slipped on the rocks. Others shouted, panicking when the water pulled at their feet. But Rohan stood still for a moment. He studied the river. He noticed the calm areas where the water was gentle. He placed each step carefully, balancing on the stones. He did not rush. He did not fear. He moved slowly but safely. By the time he reached the other side, many boys were wet, tired, or injured. Rohan arrived steady and calm. The king's advisor whispered, "This boy is slow, but he sees what others do not." The second task was held in the royal garden. The challenge was to find a rare white flower hidden among hundreds of green plants. The boys had only 15 minutes. The moment the test began, the others ran wildly. They shouted. They fought over bushes. They pulled leaves without care. But Rohan stayed still. He watched quietly. Then he noticed something the others ignored: the butterflies. They were flying toward one quiet corner of the garden. Rohan followed them calmly, and there, under thick leaves, he found the white flower. He picked it gently and brought it to the king before time ran out. The judges asked in surprise, "How did you find it so quickly?" Rohan bowed and replied softly, "If you are silent enough, nature shows you the way." The final test was held in the royal hall. The king himself sat on his golden throne. One by one, the boys entered to answer a single question. The king's voice echoed through the hall. "Tell me, what is stronger than a sword, yet makes no sound?" Some boys shouted proudly, "Gold." Others said, "Knowledge." Some said, "Courage." The king shook his head each time. None were correct. Finally, it was Rohan's turn. He entered quietly, bowed, and stood in silence. The king repeated the question. Rohan closed his eyes for a moment. Then he said softly, "Patience, my king." The hall grew quiet. The king leaned forward. "Why patience?" Rohan lifted his head and answered, "A sword can win battles, but patience can win hearts. A sword can cut, but patience can heal. A sword creates fear, but patience builds respect, and respect lasts longer than fear." The hall went completely silent. The king smiled slowly. Then he stood up and clapped his hands. words. Young boy, you have spoken with wisdom. You have spoken with truth. The next day, the king's messenger stood before the entire town. He opened the scroll and read aloud, "The winner of the king's challenge, the chest of gold coins and the honor of serving in the royal palace is Rohan, the quiet boy." The crowd gasped. Some boys were shocked. Some whispered, "How can he win? He never speaks." But the old village elder smiled and said, "Do you see now? Sometimes the one who speaks the least understands the most." From that day, Rohan served in the royal palace. He still spoke little, but when he did, everyone listened, because his words came from reflection, not noise, from truth, not ego. Years passed. Rohan became known across the kingdom, not as the loudest man, but as the wisest. And maybe, my friend, this is for you too. If people ever told you that you are too quiet, don't believe them. Silence does not mean weakness. It means you are listening. It means you are learning. And one day, it will mean you are leading. So don't waste your energy proving yourself with noise. Prove yourself with actions. Prove yourself with patience. Because in the end, success does not always shout, but it always leaves a mark. If this story touched your heart, give it a like. Leave a comment below and tell me, have you ever been underestimated because of your silence? Your story might inspire someone else today. And if you want to hear more inspiring stories like this, don't forget to subscribe and share this video, because someone out there might just need this mess.